What you're about to hear was never supposed to happen. Not in public, not on live television, and certainly not between two of the world's closest allies. Moments ago, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu stunned the world by calling out British Prime Minister Keir Starmer Lev in what experts are already describing as the most humiliating diplomatic confrontation in decades. It happened during a joint press conference in London, meant to reaffirm the unbreakable friendship between Britain and Israel. But instead of polite speeches and rehearsed smiles, Netanyahu delivered a thunderbolt that left every journalist in the room speechless. Standing just a few feet from Starmer, Netanyahu's tone suddenly shifted from cordial to cold. Looking directly at the British leader, he said, "Friends do not negotiate behind each other's backs. Allies do not fund those who work against us." The room froze. You could hear the shutters of cameras clicking like gunfire. Starmer's expression tightened, caught completely off guard. The entire world saw it. A British Prime Minister blindsided on his own soil, live on international television. Within minutes, the footage went viral. Clips of the confrontation flooded social media. Headlines exploded. Netanyahu slams Starmer. Live. UK betrayal exposed on camera. The alliance in a free fall. But the real story wasn't just what Netanyahu said. It was what he knew. Sources close to the Israeli delegation confirmed that Netanyahu's outburst wasn't spontaneous. It was strategic, a carefully planned political strike designed to expose what Israel believes is a secret UK backchannel to EU diplomats discussing potential restrictions on Israeli defense exports. In other words, Britain was allegedly talking to Europe behind Israel's back. According to leaked memos, Labour Party officials had privately engaged with EU committees on ethical standards in defense partnerships, language Israel interprets as a polite way of saying sanctions. To Netanyahu, that's not oversight, that's betrayal. For months, Israeli intelligence had been tracking what it described as inconsistent UK positions, one tone in public, another in private. When Netanyahu confronted Starmer on stage, he wasn't improvising. He was detonating a political bomb he'd been building for weeks. The shockwaves were immediate. British reporters were ushered out. Israeli advisors exchanged nervous glances. And Starmer, visibly rattled, gave a short, awkward answer. The United Kingdom remains committed to all of its alliances, but the damage was done. Netanyahu didn't nod, didn't smile. He simply stepped away from the podium, leaving Starmer standing alone. The image, Britain's Prime Minister isolated while the Israeli leader walked off, flashed across every screen in the world. By the time the broadcast ended, the internet had already erupted. Netanyahu Live trended on X with over 20 million views in under 2 hours. Comment sections turned into war zones, half the viewers praising Netanyahu for standing firm, the other half accusing him of humiliating a Western ally for political gain. But beneath the outrage and the noise lies something deeper. Because tonight, for the first time in decades, the UK-Israel alliance looks fragile. Behind closed doors, British intelligence officials are now scrambling to assess how deep this rift runs and what else Netanyahu might be prepared to reveal if provoked again. What started as a diplomatic meeting has turned into a public interrogation, and it's only getting worse. Because as the cameras cut, Netanyahu's aides reportedly handed over a confidential file to the press corps. Inside were excerpts of private EU minutes, allegedly showing British representatives voting in favor of restricting Israeli weapons technology. If true, this would confirm Netanyahu's accusation of betrayal and ignite a full-blown diplomatic crisis that could shake London to its core. And now, the question hanging over Westminster is simple. What else does Netanyahu know, and what will he expose next? By the next morning, Britain was in political chaos. Every major network replayed the clip, frame by frame, analyzing Netanyahu's words like evidence from a crime scene. Downing Street issued a sterile statement, calling the exchange spirited but respectful. But insiders say the mood inside government was pure panic. Foreign office staff described shockwaves rippling, through every diplomatic channel. Ambassadors from Washington, Berlin, and Paris requested emergency updates. Even NATO representatives privately asked whether Britain's credibility as a stable partner had been compromised. Meanwhile, in Jerusalem, Netanyahu was celebrating a public relations victory. His supporters framed the confrontation as Israel standing up to hypocrisy. Pro-government newspapers ran front-page headlines. Netanyahu defends Israel's honor in London. Public approval in Israel spiked overnight. But for Starmer, the situation was spiraling out of control. Leaked documents circulated online, some real, some likely fabricated, all feeding the narrative that the UK had been secretly aligning with EU sanctions policy. Even members of Starmer's own party began to question his leadership, warning that his European diplomacy experiment had backfired catastrophically. Then came the economic blow. Within 48 hours, major defense investors began quietly pulling back from UK contracts tied to Israeli projects. Stock analysts estimated losses in the hundreds of millions. A single BBC headline summed it up. From partnership to panic, Britain faces diplomatic isolation. Meanwhile, Netanyahu took to live broadcast again, this time from Jerusalem. His message was short, sharp, and unmistakable. Israel has always valued Britain as a friend. But friendship is built on trust. When that trust is broken, we act accordingly. The implication was devastating. Britain wasn't just losing face. It was losing influence. Back in London, Starmer convened an emergency security meeting. He ordered a top-level review of all EU correspondence, demanding answers on how internal discussions had been accessed by Israel. But the truth was already out. Israel's intelligence network had penetrated deeper than anyone realized. One unnamed intelligence official told Sky News, "They weren't caught off guard by us. We were caught off guard by them." And as the political firestorm raged, one more leak landed, the most damaging yet. A memo marked UK-EU policy preview surfaced online, showing direct recommendations from Labour strategists regarding humanitarian oversight on arms transfers. It was signed 6 weeks ago by a senior aide in Starmer's office. The authenticity was confirmed within hours. The fallout was instant. Protests erupted outside Parliament. Netanyahu's office issued a final statement declaring the issue closed, pending British accountability. In diplomatic language, that means the ball is in your court. Starmer, cornered and exhausted, delivered a late-night televised address. His tone was somber. Britain stands by its allies, he said. But no nation should expect blind obedience. We believe in ethics, transparency, and sovereignty. Some called it courage. Others called it damage control. But the speech did little to calm the storm. Britain's strongest Middle Eastern ally had just turned its back, and the Prime Minister's biggest challenge was no longer foreign policy. It was survival, a live confrontation, a public humiliation, and a political alliance hanging by a thread. Did Netanyahu expose betrayal or stage it for power? Was Starmer standing on principle or caught in his own double game? Drop your thoughts below. We read every single comment. And if this story stunned you as much as it stunned the world, hit that subscribe button right now, because the next revelation out of London could change everything we thought we knew about global politics. The microphones may be off, but behind the scenes, the battle has only just begun.